Meet Alice. 2 years ago, in March of 2017, Alice went into labor at one of the hospitals in rural Rwanda. Everything was going well with her delivery until all of a sudden, she started to bleed. Doctors knew within minutes that she was going to need an emergency transfusion of blood. So they checked their stock, but they didn't have enough of her blood type. So they rushed to place an emergency order. Now, this hospital is located in a remote area of Rwanda. It takes a few hours to access by driving there. Despite that, the blood was delivered within 30 minutes. The doctors used the blood to stabilize Alice, and later she went home with this beautiful little boy. The blood Alice needed, the blood that saved her life, was delivered using a small autonomous aircraft that we call a zip. So later, Alice was curious to understand how this happened. So recently she visited our operations in Rwanda, and this is what she had to say.
I used to see the zipline drone fly and people gathering around to watch. I would find it funny and think to myself, they must be mad, until the same drone brought blood that saved my life.
Thank you. Zipline is an on-demand delivery service. We deliver blood, vaccines, and pharmaceuticals. In 2016, Rwanda became the only place on earth to operate a drone delivery service at national scale. Other countries are now learning from Rwanda and its innovation in healthcare. Now, I want to take you to Rwanda, where our operations are happening at this moment, so that you see how this actually works. Are we ready to go to Rwanda? This is Kenan Wairobek, one of our co-founders.
This is a live distribution center, so this is a behind-the-scene tour. And this is one of 2 distribution centers here in Rwanda that covers 95% of the country with on-demand delivery, just-in-time delivery of vital medical products. We just had a zip land behind us, and I'm going to give you a tour of our center here. So that building over there, that is where we store all the supplies, the blood and other supplies, so we can deliver it within 5 minutes. This big A-frame system that you just saw the zip hanging from, that's a recovery system. You'll get to see that in action again in a few minutes. And then behind me is a tent, which is, we call it our Zipline Training Academy. Our newest Zipline team members from Ghana are in that tent right now getting trained to scale up our Ghana operation that started last week. Let me show you around where we are right now. We call this the crow's nest. This is our version of an air traffic control tower. This is Leander. He's in constant communication with Kigali Air Traffic Control and managing all of our zips in the airspace over Rwanda. Right now, we have 3 zips in the air making deliveries to different parts of Rwanda. This is literally the northern border, this is the southern border, and each of these triangles is a different zip that have just made deliveries of blood to the hospitals indicated by the drops of blood. Okay, let's go. ETN recovery? Okay, so we're gonna go behind the scenes here. So come on down with me. I should mention it's storming here, so hopefully this works well. But this is about as raw as it gets of a tour. So we have a zip that's coming into land here in a few minutes. We're gonna get to see that. We also have an order that just came in. We're gonna go see that getting packed here in just a few minutes. So we're walking into the flight operations area. This is where we have all the. This is where we have all the batteries, where we have all the zips that are waiting, ready to fly at a moment's notice, and this is where we have the recovery system. I think we have a few minutes, so let's look inside. Can you holler at us when it's coming? About 10-second warning. Thank you. So here you can see all the zips that are waiting, and we'll get to see this in action in a minute. But this is the body of a zip. This is where the package goes. Right behind you here is, these are all the batteries in their chargers getting ready to fly. And then on the other side of this window, this is our fulfillment operations area. So these operators, they are in constant communication with doctors around Rwanda, making sure we get the right order to the right doctor in time. How much time do we have? 1 minute? Okay, let's take a look inside. So this is our fulfillment operations area. And so here we have an order that's getting filled right now. And so we're going to kind of stay out of the way because this is an emergency order and we don't want to slow them down. But you can see, if you look over here on this scale, our fulfillment operator is putting a unit of A positive blood on the scale. Of course, it's very important that the weight of each package is right to make sure our planes maintain airworthiness. And so once that's done, she's going to take that, wrap that in a paper-based insulation, put it into our box, and then pass it out the window to our flight operators. And so we're going to come see a recovery while she's doing that. So she'll pass that out the window in a minute, but I want you guys to see how these zips land. Go, go, go. Okay. So here comes the zip through the fog here up on your left. You can see it's fighting a really heavy crosswind here as it comes in to land in the storm. And that's how we catch the planes and land them. Yeah. And so, well, why don't we watch for a second while they take that plane apart? So it takes them only about 60 seconds to get this plane off the recovery system and ready for its next flight. And you'll see how they work as a team to get this done. First, they remove the battery, which is most of the weight of the plane. Then they're going to remove the wing and the body, and they put it right next to the launcher, ready for the next flight. One thing, just to give you a sense of the scale of this operation, this team currently flies the equivalent of once around the equator of the Earth every week. So they are flying a lot. And to date, they've flown over 1 million kilometers. Okay, so as you can see in our fulfillment area, they're almost done as they finish packing the package. And it'll come out the door here any minute. So a couple interesting things are going on here. So first of all, one of the things I want to mention is you, just like me, we're visitors here. This team is run by Joe, who's amazing, who's talking with you there in South Africa, and this amazing team of Rwandans. Not only are they leading the world in how to do this, they're teaching the team in Ghana on how to scale this. It's absolutely fantastic to see how professional they operate and a level of operational excellence that they've achieved here in this operation. Okay, so anyway, as they finish preparing that package, I don't know if you can see well through that window, we track everything here. So we provide total traceability of every unit of blood, which is very important to the health system here. So they have the data they need to constantly be improving. Okay, so I want to introduce you to one of our flight operators, Prosper.
My name is Prosper. I've been at Zipline for 2 years. I'm a front operator.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to take this minute. He's been here for 2 years. He has been part of everything you see here, this building, how we operate, all the details of the operation. Prosper has been helping drive and design through this whole process. It's been absolutely amazing to see. We're going to peek back inside the fulfillment operation area.
Yeah, one thing that is important to understand is doctors don't know when they're going to run into an emergency situation. when they have a patient who needs something, we have to get into the air as quickly as possible. So one of the collaborations we've had with the doctors is knowing this, they can focus on what they do best, which is treating their patients. That is a package being loaded.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're seeing the package get loaded. This is a paper-based biodegradable installation. One of the things you'll notice is the package has this attached paper parachute. And so when we deliver, we don't land. The zip just flies over the delivery site and drops the package right outside the door of the hospital. So she's double checking, chute looks good. And when that's done, she'll pass it out the window to our flight operators. Okay, and we'll go outside to see what this looks like now on the other side. So she passes the package out to our flight operator. He's going to take that package and put it into the body of a zip. First, he's going to scan the barcode on the package and the barcode on the zip. Now this zip knows where to go to deliver this package to the right hospital. The package goes in. He's going to tuck the paper parachute into a special clip at the top of the payload bay, and then push the package in and close the doors. Then he's going to take the body of the zip over to the launcher, and you can see the other flight operator, Prosper, who you just met, is already ready with the wing to put it onto the body. So now the wing is on the zip, and now comes the battery. This is the final piece. So put the battery in, close the latches, and we start the pre-flight process. So there's a few things happening all at once. First, he's checking all the physical details of the zip to make sure it's airworthy. Now Prosper is doing some of our more automated checks. This one you're seeing here uses the iPhone and computer vision to automatically check that those control surfaces are good. And this is just part of making this operation as easy as possible. So the team that's here is focused as much as possible on safety and getting the right product to the doctor who needs it right when they need it. So as they complete their pre-flight checks here, I'm just checking the screen here. We have okay. So now as they're finishing the pre-flight checks, hopefully you can see that well. And we're going to wait 1 second while that zip is ready. Now, in parallel to the pre-flighting process, our controller, who you met in the tower at the very beginning, he's in communication with Kigali Air Traffic Control to make sure this flight is good to go in the airspace. Because remember, these flights cross the entire country. It's very important that every flight is operated safely in the airspace. One fun thing to see behind me here, we call these the smart chargers. And this is another little part of making this operation as easy to operate as possible. As soon as you put a battery into a smart charger after a flight, the flight logs that live in the battery get automatically uploaded into our big data systems, enabling us to have the data in real time to constantly be improving the system. Especially learning from the kind of environments we're flying in today. Flying in storms with small vehicles is a big challenge, and this team does it really well, day in and day out. I don't know if you can hear it now. It's starting to rain really hard. All right, so Prosper is doing the double checks on the zip here, and now what the zip is doing, automatically it's checking internally about 1,000 internal parameters. Yeah, go ahead and show them around. About 1,000 internal parameters are being checked in real time before this zip says it's ready to fly and fly safely. Okay. So, are we good on time, Joe? Can we wait for this launch? I think we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yes, go ahead, Kenan.
Go ahead. So what I was going to talk about weather. Emergencies actually increase when the weathers get bad. So being able to operate through stormy conditions like this is incredibly important. And there's a bunch of things around this operation that have been done specifically to enable us to safely operate during storms. Now, some of that is the lightning tower protection you can see outside. So this recovery system, which is the A-frame here in front of us, is surrounded by these lightning protection towers. And that's so we can catch a zip, even in the middle of a storm. We actually had lightning nearby just a few minutes ago. Anyway, and now that we're close up here, you can see how we catch that zip. So first, you see the two poles and the line. That line snapping up to catch the plane is how we land. And I want to show you what the tail hook looks like on that plane. So this is the size of the hook we're catching. As you can see, it's very small. That line comes up and grabs that little tiny hook, and it does that no matter how the conditions are. Okay, one of the fun things about seeing a live tour is you get to see people working through issues. They're working through an issue right now as they get this plane ready for pre-flight. So that's why I'm saying back, because I don't want to distract them from solving whatever they're working through. So anyway, I think it's probably time to turn it back to you, Joe. It was such a pleasure to have you here. I want to take one, such a pleasure to have you here in Muhanga, Rwanda, so you could see what the zipline distribution operating behind the scenes. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Kenan. Thank you. We have never had 2,500 visitors at once at our distribution centers. So thank you so much for taking this time. So the Rwandan team you just saw is achieving something that no other health system is achieving in the world. And in order for us to understand that, let's talk about blood for a little bit. So blood is precious, but its logistics are very complicated. And in most cases, it's actually more expensive than most people imagine. Some of the components of the blood, like platelets, can only be stored for 7 days. That means 7 days from the moment it's donated to when it's transported to the lab for testing, to when it's transported to the hospital, until finally it's donated to a patient. And if 7 days elapse before that, you have to throw it away and start over. And there's so many other components of the blood, many of which are rare. So one key metric every health system in the world track is how much of their blood supplies expire before it gets donated to patients. And Western countries are making a lot of efforts and spending a lot of money trying to keep the waste rate under 10%. But the team you just saw has managed to deliver 17,000 blood units and managed a waste rate of only 0.06%. Thank you. Hopefully it's obvious from this how in Western countries there is a lot of blood that get donated that don't get to patients, while in Rwanda, almost all the blood that gets donated gets to patients. But these are just numbers. Let's talk about health impact. Let's talk about maternal mortality. Maternal mortality is a measure of how many women die from complications of childbirth. A recent study that was done in Rwanda involving 2 hospitals that are served by Zipline have found that Rwanda achieved a maternal mortality rate of 0. That is an impressive achievement for Rwanda, and one that we are proud that we have played a small but vital part. So Rwanda is showing the world how innovation in healthcare can transform what we think is possible. And other countries have started following this example in solving the problem of access to medicines globally. With our operations in Rwanda and now in Ghana, we are on track to solving 1% of this global problem. But we need to do more together. Our attention is now focused on how do we solve this problem globally for the 90% of the rest of the world who also need it. Thank you. Thank you.